The inspiration behind Earthlight originally was essentially us as a company pioneering the way that we interface with technology. But nowadays it's become a point of collaboration between us and entities like NASA to provide different platforms in how we can transport someone on the ground into an environment in space. NASA found us after we posted screenshots on Reddit. It started off with just a more of a fact-finding mission. So we went to Johnson Space Center and we were able to tour the facilities there and speak to various personnel, ranging from astronauts to even one of the flight directors of the International Space Station. I think Earthlight targets an audience past the perceived audience of ordinary gamers, because space in itself is a very universal attraction. I don't think that we're actually kind of moving past the boundaries of people that are interested in games, but we're discovering people who may not have realized the potential of games in itself.
So it's interesting with Earthlight, trying to walk this fine line of making a game that's super realistic and making a game that's fun to play, because there's a lot of people that play the game out of curiosity of what it's like to be an astronaut, and we want to be fairly faithful to that experience.
During testing at the Johnson Space Center, we had a report back from our collaborators at NASA saying that whilst an astronaut was trialing a demonstration kind of experience that we had created for an EVA walk, they felt sick at the same place that they felt sick whilst doing their real EVA on the International Space Station. And when we asked, should we look into how we can fix that? They said, no, keep it, because that is authentic in the subject matter. So we have to find these choices, I guess, where we pick what is, I guess, an empathic kind of delivery of the subject matter and what is more comfortable for a player.
I think traditionally in video games, the game design is focused on teaching players a skill, and then they get their enjoyment from just perfecting that skill. At the start of the game, you're sort of learning how to play the game, and that's kind of more of a gamer experience. You're learning, how to move around in zero gravity. You're learning how to use some of the tools. But then it's important for those people that aren't necessarily gamers as such to feel included as well.
I think Film Victoria's support has enabled not just a piece of entertainment to be produced, but there is no other Australian VR, AR or mixed reality studio that has a collaboration with a space agency. So the state of Victoria has a fingerprint with something that's much greater in terms of how we put people into space. At the GPU Technology Conference in San Jose this year, NASA even made a joke about how Opaque Space represents the Australian space program for them. It was a passing comment, but it shows that even with a small degree of funding, something very large can be achieved from that.
Having Film Victoria's help with funding has meant that Melbourne has become a hub for Australia in terms of game development. So a lot of people are actually moving here from other cities to try and get that support.
I couldn't think of Melbourne anything more than a family. The way people treat each other and talk to one another, and then, you mentioned one person, oh yeah, I know that person. So it's, as Michael and Stefan have mentioned, just how tight-knit it is.
The infrastructure is also quite good. We're able to bring down our international partners here. We have spaces such as Acme in order to help host conferences. We are in the process of raising some pretty substantial capital in order to enable us to not just make games, but to kind of really ramp up the way that we contribute to space agencies and aerospace partners.
From the perspective of Earthlight, we're very interested in fleshing that out into a full long-form experience.
Yep.
So that's a pretty straightforward, exciting thing to be working on. Obviously the space agency stuff is also a very interesting area as well.
Yeah.
That will hopefully be blossoming a lot more soon.